Welcome to the journey of an aesthete, a comprehensive examination of all things aesthetic, the arts, the humanities, and what it means to be human. Welcome to Journey of an Aesthete podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And one of the reasons I have you is we did a special, a giveaway to our listeners and our audiences, right? And people like yourself would call in or send examples of your work. And you were one of the people to respond. And because of that, you're on our show. Now, this is very exciting. I believe you were the very first guest we've had that does exactly what you do in your field. So you are a tarot reader.
Yes.
And you were also a fine artist and do paint and all sorts of things. So
Quite a checkered past I've had. A checkered creative past, I think, Mitch.
Okay. We could talk about that. We could talk about that if you want to. But I thought, I did not quite know how to proceed because I know I want part of the episode to be you talking, about linear chronology, about how you came to have these gifts, how you came to practice tarot. But also I wanted, as an experiment, with your permission, to do a reading, if you don't mind.
Yes, but that would be with your permission, Mitch, because I can read, but obviously, I would never, I feel one of the things I feel very strongly about within tarot and within any of this work is the ethics with it. A lot of people see it and they get very excited, and I've seen people out at parties and they go up to somebody and go, "Oh, I know this about you," and things like that. And to me, that is, that's, it's an invasion of that person's privacy and energy. So, like I say, it would be your permission and I would be happy to do that.
Sure. Again, I guess you're saying there's a risk involved. And I sort of, there's always a risk when two people communicate.
Yes.
Right? And there's a vulnerability.
Yeah.
But having said that, Tanya, I'm saying that, we have to share the world with other people.
Exactly.
So we have to live in this world together and create a world together with cooperation.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to me. And so, one of the things my show is about that cooperation.
Yes.
Through the the essence.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I agree. And what I feel is one of the important things about sharing, like you say, is just having that respect, that respect for the cards, that respect for art, that respect for, whatever it is. And I feel sometimes in this day and age, how things are currently, respect goes. People don't think of that as the first thing. And I'm very old school. Although I read tarot in a very modern way, I am very old school. So when I teach it, I usually teach teachers. And, they've learned tarot, they know it, or they think they know it. And then, I can come down quite, obviously compassionately, but quite hard because it's, this needs to be respected. This is not a toy. It's not something, to be played with. It's, you respect your art and you respect the craft as well with it.
Respect, of course, is, that's a given, but again, I don't want to get too. You brought up so many in just that sentence.
Sorry,
you brought up so many things that we could talk about. So, but because you said that you read in a modern way, but you said there's been changes. Do you mind discussing how you came to practice this, or the knowledge, or you had to how to do this? Anything you want to talk about is fine.
Yes. Kind of a little bit of the story from being very young. I was sensitive, but I didn't realize I was. I used to see movies all of the time. Like in my head was a constant movie. Yeah. So if my mother said to me, "Where did you leave your shoes?" rather than thinking where they were, I would just play the movie and the movie would show me where the shoes were. Wow. So this went on within my life until I was actually about 32. Before I had a conversation with somebody and I was going, when you within the movie, and they were going, "No, Tanya, I don't know what you mean." Right. And that was the first time that I actually realized, wow, not everybody season this way. But like I say, there was a lot of things, I seen spirits and things like that. But my family were very open to it. They all were kind of sensitive, but they all hid it. They didn't speak about it. And the first time I ever seen somebody, I was 5-year-old. I went to my mother. I was really upset. Right. She knew I was telling the truth because she had seen the same person. And what she said to me was, it is the living that will hurt you, Tanya, not the dead. Never be scared of it. So that was kind of my initiation. Yeah. And then what was strange was there was an old program in the 70s in the UK called Tales of the Unexpected. You remember that, Mitch? Yeah. And on the opening credits, there was actually a tarot card, and I remember being terrified of it, but almost like, when you have that cushion up at your face, but you feel compelled to look. So that's my first ever introduction to tarot. And then when I got to about 13-year-old, this was when I was like, I wanted to be different. I wanted to rebel. And rather than, going into the punk stage or whatever, it was witches, it was ghosts, it was tarot. So that was when I got my first tarot deck round about the age of 13, 14. And I think at the time I just got it because it looked cool and it was mysterious and it was different to what other people were doing. They were having Barbie dolls and things, and it was like, I want to be a bit different. So I started to read tarot then. Life happened, and then it fell away from my life. And then it was during almost a transformation, I feel, that tarot kind of called me back. And from then, it's been a beautiful journey. And I feel about 15 years ago, was when it really hit, where I was like, it isn't about what tarot can teach me, can tell me. It's about what tarot can teach me. Right. So I feel I've been looking at the cards, which many people do, as a prediction tool, Yeah. And when I realized that they're actually a prescription, and that there is a lot of wisdom within the cards, rather than telling me what's going to happen next, they're telling me why I'm in the situation of where I want to know what's happened next. Does that make sense?
It does. Well, philosophically, I'm of an interesting, I should tell you my bias, I guess, because we're speaking. Yeah. I'm not a determinist. And right. Also, I actually don't believe in inevitability.
Right. Okay.
I think that anything could change on a dime.
Yes.
Having said that, there are most likely things. And so I think when people make predictions or look in the future, they're sort of doing what's most likely rather than inevitable. So I'm I follow a middle path. I don't know if you think that's accurate.
Within a lot of the tarot readings I've done thousands over the years. And actually my friend who I'm out with today, his father has Alzheimer's, and I was living in Brazil. He was in England, and he phoned me one day very distressed. His father had gone missing and all of that. And I just got the cards out, and straight away the cards, I said, you need to go back to the house that he was born in. And he said, that's about 40 miles away. And I said, that's where he is. And then he told the police went there, and there was his father trying to get in through the gate. Now, that was from the tarot, and we were in completely different continents. So, when we talk about predictions, they do come up, but I just feel that they're like the cherry on an already iced cake. That's an added bonus that comes in with tarot.
Interesting. So for you, when people say a cherry, that implies ornamentation.
I think, if you've got this perfectly iced cake, which is fabulous anyway, and then you just plonk this beautiful red cherry on the top, it's just like, there's an extra.
But I'm not going to, so me being the person, I'm not going to receive that the same way you might put it out there. Because for me, I see, and again, I'm not a food person, so I have that bias. Yeah. Food is not the most important thing to me, but, the cake is what's important. So what you're really saying is that there's this little cherry, and there's a sort of a lesser importance to the cherry. That's why I said it's an ornamentation.
Yes,
and from my point of view, that's hard to wrap my brain around.
Right. Okay.
Partly because I'm autistic, and partly part of my autism is needing to have some certainty and not liking uncertainty about the future.
Right.
So in other words, for me, it's very, very important what is or is not going to happen. I don't obsess about it, but I think my need for security about that is stronger than the average person. So for me, prediction would be the cake.
Right. That would be the cake for you. That's interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Maybe that's why I like to read history. I'm a history buff, and why I like to read philosophy. I don't know. But that's not, I don't dwell there. In other words, of course, I know I can't know the future. So oftentimes I just don't think about it for my own security.
Yes.
So that's kind of.
And do you feel as well, like if you did know the future, that could actually change what you were doing in the present?
I do. Like I would have, a lot of my problems in my life now.
Yeah.
And there are many, actually.
Right. We'll see them in a bit.
They're a result of me not really knowing well what was coming down the pike and not really being that future oriented. If I have a bias, I tend to be too much in the present, live in the moment, which I know a lot of people would be envious of that. They're trying to learn how to live in the moment. I have the opposite problem. My thing is not to plan. My thing is to live in the moment. I'm good at that, but I'm poor at, say, planning in the future, thinking about the future. Because if Five-Side Theater says the future's not here yet, man, it's a famous record, I completely
agree with you. I'm very much like that. I mean, my life at this moment in time is like literally, I don't know. People are going, where are you going, Tanya? Where are you going to live? And I'm like, I don't know, but I trust that there will be some sort of guidance. I've lived my life for about the last 6-7 years very much like that, and it's involved going to different countries, just hopping on a plane or whatever, and I really feel that I've got exactly what I needed from each place. So very similar, to take it back to the tarot of the Fool. The Fool is what the tarot is about. He is the hero of the story, or the villain, depending on what stage he's at. And all he carries with him is a backpack. He has an open mind, an open heart. He's quite naive on his first journey. And he steps off a cliff without knowing what's ahead. But he's very childlike. There's this beautiful childlike innocence with him. Some could say it's naivety, but he knows that he will experience some sort of adventure. That's where he is. So I feel I've wrapped up a cycle, and I feel like I'm back at the Fool again at this moment.
Interesting. Did you want to do a reading now or later, or talk more about your life or your experience?
Whatever. I mean, I feel if we talk a little bit more about tarot, if people don't know it, because obviously a lot of people have different ideas. Some people go, oh, I don't like that, or, it's wrong, or I don't believe in that things. But to me, I don't feel tarot has anything to believe in. It is, tarot I think it gives us the freedom to move and the freedom to be moved. That's what I feel tarot is. And, it's a story. And it's a story that is personal to somebody, but also universal. Like everybody you speak to, you can see that they've gone through stages, and they'll go, oh, yeah, that's me. I've done talks where I've read the Fool's Journey, which I wrote. I didn't write the story. I wrote my version of it. Okay. And I've had like grown men crying afterwards, going like, that was my story you were telling. And it's like, yeah, because it's everybody's story. So I feel that being open to tarot, or open to just, the possibility that there might be something in it that can, flick a switch or interest somebody, I think is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're the expert on it because you've been doing it and practicing it. I should say, full disclosure, that I'm very open-minded.
Yes.
To tarot. Yeah. Also, I'm a person that for pleasure reads religious literature, wisdom literature, secular literature, scientific literature. I'm voracious in my appetite for knowledge and curiosity, and I've like astrology, tarot is something that's always been a part of my life. It's something that I sort of was never really that skeptical about. In other words, I take it to have some wisdom. I take it to have truth in it. And so I just accept it. So I haven't, I don't know if maybe that's a good thing for this.
No, I feel that's great. And I feel, it's within life, I think we can be certain about nothing, So when I do a reading for somebody or whatever, it's, as you say, it's not this is definite. It's like this is a possibility or this is a probability, this is it. It opens you up to possibilities. And I feel with the tarot, one of the beautiful things that I love about it is how I believe it to be a mirror and a muse. It can show us we can look in it and we see things from a different viewpoint, like we do with a mirror. And it can give us a tiny little bit of inspiration that can inspire us to maybe take a different path or to do something differently, because it can it's almost like the devil's advocate, without, sorry for saying the devil there, because I don't feel in any way it's connected with that. But, when it's like, but this, what if you fall? And it's like, but what if you fly? And that's the way I see tarot. Tarot will show back to you what you're maybe not focusing on.
That's interesting. Well, the devil's advocate metaphor, which you quickly, that came from an era,
right,
in which people had what Isaiah Berlin calls the classical perennial belief,
right,
which is that there's just an order to the world.
Right.
You just have to be obedient to it, which is what everybody believed for for millennia.
Yes.
Until it was challenged by Romanticism and free will and in modern period. But, from that pre-modern period, devil's advocate meant somebody taking, I guess, the incorrect view or the view that, but so that's, it's a little, I think it's not so, it's a little gentler than people might think.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It also, it reminds me that it comes from this era and people believed in objectivity. It's like something was or wasn't.
Yes.
And I know we're not. The world's not just objective. People change, and they change their mind, and we have feelings and subjectivity and all that, right? So.
Yeah, what's interesting when you're saying that is when I teach tarot, I always say that the devil, everybody doesn't like to see that card, but to me, that is one of the most truthful cards in the deck. I mean, it speaks of addiction. It speaks of carnal desires. It speaks of this primal force within us, and a force that we feel we are powerless over. Mm-hmm. Yet when the fool meets the devil, the fool doesn't like how he feels, and he's shouting at the devil saying, you have these people chained up and they're engaging in sex and drink and drugs and whatever. And the devil says they can leave at any time. They choose to be here. And he said, but some people, they can climb the highest summits. They use that primal force in a way that is kind of healthier for them. So, the devil just basically shows us a part within us that, are we using this to our best advantage, or are we allowing this to sabotage us? So that's why I love the devil card within that.
Well, sure. I mean, of course, you again, I'm an outsider. I'm listening to you, but you're the expert. You're the person that practices tarot.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be really beautiful to do a reading now and see what comes up.
Yes, of course. I mean, I just want to say you mentioned the word expert a couple of times, and thank you. I'm really grateful for that, Mitch. But I feel that I am an eternal student, especially with the tarot. I mean, like I say, I've been reading now for 30 plus years, and every single day when I pick up the tarot, it teaches me something new. So, it's like I say, I am always a student of tarot. I know a lot about it, but an expert, I don't know. But thank you for that anyway.
Also, I want to remind myself during this episode to ask you about Buddha.
Yes.
Because you say love Buddha, but I'm a lifelong student of Buddhism. And all schools of Buddhism, and I read texts of it. Maybe later, but if you don't mind.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'll just briefly there, if that's okay. So when, I never used to do this for work, this was always a hobby. And now I feel very blessed that this is, my work. And I've wrote a course, a program, which is based on the tarot, which I've been working with clients, and they're getting life-changing results with it. So, I'm taking it on a different level. Mm-hmm. But when I was told, or I got the nod from them upstairs, or whoever you want to call them, that this would become my work, I was like, well, what do I call the business? What do I call it? I didn't have any answers. And I said, look, if there's anything there, please let me know. And I went to bed that night. And that night, when I was asleep, they showed me my name and they showed me LoveBuddha next to it. And I was like, really? LoveBuddha? And they said, you come from a place of love, but you teach wisdom. And that was it. And then the name was born. So I didn't actually choose that. It was almost chosen for me.
Sure. So you're saying it came to you as a spiritual experience.
It's I don't know how this stuff happens, and a lot of people like to say, I channel, or I this, or I that, and I'm very grounded. I'm a girl from the northeast of England, and if I went too far up in the woo woo, I would be pulled straight back down again. But
So is that why you love Ken Loach movies so much? What's your favorite Ken Loach movie?
I feel, on for different reasons, I feel that Daniel Blake, basically because it was set in my hometown, and basically because it highlights the plight of how this town is at the moment, and like I say, I've lived away from the UK for many years, and coming back to it and seeing it like this, it's just, you're seeing like 19-year-old children, that look like they're 60 and 70, and it's that's sad. And I feel Ken Loach as an artist has a beautiful way of showing compassion within the pain as well.
Yep.
So that's why I like that. But going back to the channel and or whatever, I prefer to say I get told things. Somebody drops something in there, so something comes through me rather than from me, I feel.
Okay. So it's really, it must be, I don't know. I'm kind of in awe a little bit, I must say, because I'm not somebody who has this capacity. I don't pick up things from people quite like that. And I'm not right. And it is a gift, and I often wonder what it would be like to have that. I'm sure you have to live your life in a specific way or different way because of these.
Yes. And it's. I've heard people say that it's a blessing and a curse, and I could completely agree with that 100%. And sometimes you feel from people things that you don't want to, and you think, you see something happening or something like that, and do you tell them, do you not? It puts you a lot of times in a very bad situation. I've seen it with an ex-partner where everything's going great, we're perfect, looking at getting a house, and then suddenly I just see this. It's almost like a trailer for a movie, and I can't stop it, and you see it and it's like, oh wow. And then guaranteed it will happen, even if I said at this time, and I said, look, we need to be very careful. And they said, have you seen something? I said, yeah, and within 3-4 days it had played out exactly how I'd said it to be. So things like that are quite hard. So a lot of times when I go into public spaces or things like that, I try to shut it off. Mm-hmm. I don't ask a lot of questions about people because it also, I love people. I'm a people person, and I love getting to know them. And sometimes when you get you everything gets like given to you beforehand, it takes the fun out of that. So I try to live very much with my feet on the ground as well as my head in the clouds, I would say, Mitch.
Okay. So do you want to start now and do it? Or
Yes, with your reading. Yeah, that's great. So if you could just make sure that your feet are on the floor, your legs and arms uncrossed.
Yeah.
If that's okay, yeah?
Sure. Yeah.
And I have 2 decks in front of me, deck 1 and deck 2. Which one would you prefer me to use?
Oh, you're asking me.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of making decisions. I'm a Libra.
Right.
Libra with a Venus and Virgo and Moon.
Yeah.
Okay, so second deck.
The second one. Okay. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry to make you uncomfortable.
No,
So
it's all right.
You can just take 3 deep breaths from me, please. I'm going to shuffle, and when it feels right for you, please just tell me to stop. Okay?
How about right now?
Okay, that's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. So, right, okay, there's really interesting. There was 2 cards fell out as I was shuffling, and then the first card that I have actually that came out within your reading is the devil, as we were talking about. So he wanted to make an appearance. Well, so what I'm doing, I'm just going a little bit quiet here. This is just because I'm putting the cards out, and I'm seeing what is coming in here. So, right, okay. When we're looking, there's a real strong mother energy coming in at this moment. And like I say, I don't want to go into mediumship with this, but there's I feel there's something, and when I'm getting this, and I do have permission to go exactly where this is going, Mitch, yeah? Yeah. So this is talking, and I feel that there is a mother figure or a mother energy that is there. Yeah. Now, when I'm seeing this, I'm seeing a lot of almost mental confusion within this, or pain. Sure. There's a lot of kind of a prisoner of the thoughts, if that makes sense. And I feel there's just a really, when I'm looking at this, I'm wanting to break free. I'm wanting to break free because it feels very oppressive, this energy. Now, I'm not saying that this person was oppressive, but I'm saying the energy around that person was. And I feel, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, because of it's because of where I'm living now and my living situation.
Right.
And I live near my mom, and it's very difficult because we don't get along so well, and she's at the end of her, she's in her 80s.
Right. Okay.
Picking up all those things, yes. And
well, that was the first.
Prison is a bit strong, although sometimes I do feel like I'm a prisoner living here in this.
Yes, that's what it's feeling. It's almost like your hands are tied. That's the feeling. But when I'm looking further on, so that is what they're saying is the most pressing thing at this moment, which could be linking to other problems as well. Now, I feel that there's I don't know if this is some sort of creative venture or something that has actually been started beforehand. And it's almost like I feel there's a little bit more about sparking this fire within you. Now, I know you said that you're a Libran, and like I say, Librans like balance. They like facts. They like to know. What this is saying is that bring a little bit more creative energy in if you can. Try and have a little bit more fun with this, or a little bit more. It's very connected to the sacral chakra, which often connected to sexuality, connected to play, connected to creativity. And I almost feel within this, it's like in a way I want to just, when you get somebody and you give them a little shake and you just go, when you do it in like yoga or in when children are playing, and it's right, okay, shake all of that anxiety out. Because I feel that whatever this creative venture is, and I do feel there's something in the future, but this is talking about one in the past that could be quite financially lucrative, or one in the present, actually. And what it's saying with this, it could be connected to a female as well, but it's saying by having this loosen up, or by being around somebody who has this flair that can actually in some way translate your thoughts into this more, I don't want to say flary. That's not a word I would use, but into this more creative flow rather than a structure, if that makes sense to you.
It puzzles me a little bit because I'm
right.
Because I'm extremely creative. So actually, it's not really possible for me to be more creative.
Right. Okay.
Now. So I'm in one of the most creatively productive times in my life.
Right. Right. Okay. So can I just look a little bit further into that to make sure what the message? No, just to see what the message. Because if it's confusing there, then obviously I don't want to tell you something that isn't right. You know. So
I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, trying to understand it. I get that. I get that. 2 seconds, Mitch. I'm just going to go a little bit further in and see what this is actually about. This is you got the magician. This is great. You got the magician, and it's right. Okay, so what this is saying here is, so you're saying that there is this creative project. You're being very creative at the moment, but is there some kind of stall on it, or is there some kind of, because what this is saying is that maybe I know you said you didn't plan a lot, but maybe the structure of it is what needs to be shaken up a little bit, because I do feel it's very lucrative. I do feel there's a lot of power behind it as well. But it's almost like I feel the message that is coming through with you here is that, almost go back to that creativity. When we look at Picasso, and Picasso wanted to go back and forget everything he'd learned so that he could paint like a child again. And this is kind of the energy that I'm getting with this, because I feel that there is something holding you back. And so I do feel that some sort of collaboration with this, or collaboration with somebody else who maybe creates in a different way, it could be challenging for you, but I feel it would be a very beneficial collaboration and something that could be built on massively.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that could be anything. Everybody needs an anchor in life. You, me, just everybody. Anchor made this whole show possible. I'm immensely grateful to them. You too can use Anchor to make your own shows and create your own vision. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Yeah, I want to make it very clear. Prison reigned true, because these 2 years I have felt like I'm in prison, not just the isolation, but also my entire former lifestyle went away that I had for 30 years.
Yes.
And that I loved. So it isn't like that went away, it was good riddance. It was like that was when I was happy. And that is not so a lot. Do you think some of this you're picking up could be the nature of my present sort of limbo, or kind of?
It could be. What I'm busy doing now is, this is what I do. First of all, this is a general reading where I tell people what they need to know rather than what they want to know. Once this reading is done, then this is when we can open it up to questions. And this is what I love, because, the questions are where it's at, because that's what everybody wants to know. But usually when they come out, there's always something there. And I feel when you're talking about that as well, I've got this Page of Swords, and I've got the 5 of Coins, and I've got the Chariot. It's almost this wanting to go out, but not knowing where. There's this holding back. There's a lot of pentacles within your reading. Now, pentacles, often a lot of people would just say that they're about finances and money. I don't see that like that at all. I see it very much as they're about security. This is long-term security. Yes. It's planting the seeds today that will be the fruits of your future. And I really feel that there is a decision to make around this. Again, very creative it is, but it's about, and it's almost like I don't feel you can do this alone as well. You could do it alone, but I don't feel you have to, because it's almost like there is a lot of power coming to you at this moment in time. Yeah. There is a lot of recognition. I don't know, are you writing some sort of book or something like that?
Are you?
Sorry?
not only am I writing a book, it's one of my biggest projects. I'm very serious.
Right.
About this. Wow. Okay.
So that is there, but it's almost like saying, I feel there's this, it needs a little bit something, and I'm going to ask what this needs. It's like a secret ingredient that, that needs to be added to this. And I'm going to ask what it is, because it's all looking very favorable. And I really feel it's good, but there's something missing this, and I'm just seeing what it is here. What is this within the book? Right, okay. So I don't like to ask a lot of questions when I do a reading, Mitch, because obviously, I like for me to know that I'm getting something that's going to help the other person rather than them just telling me. But what is this book about? I mean, is this about your personal journey? Is this about your past? Because it feels it needs the little bit of your soul-searching element in it. That is why I'm asking that question.
Well, the book is about the 1970s.
Right, okay.
The book is about movies of the 1970s.
Ah, right. So it's got nothing, it hasn't got like an autobiographical aspect or anything.
It's not a memoir autobiography. I'm contemplating introducing personal elements.
Right. Don't contemplate, just do it, because that's what it is. It needs your truth. People need to connect with you within this, like what their movies meant to you or something like that. It doesn't need to be the whole thing, but it just needs to have that element, even if it's just, the opener, the introduction, where you speak about that, because that's this missing ingredient. Because what I'm seeing here and what I'm being told is that you are actually a great teacher to other people. Now, I don't feel that you teach on a level as you have students in front of you, but the way you see the world, or the world that you have experienced up until now, is just by telling that story to somebody, it could teach them a lot. It could bring changes, especially around people that are feeling a little bit disheartened or a little bit disillusioned with the world at the moment. So I don't know if that is something as well to put in, how this disillusionment, how you maybe got through that, or how you found that strength to go on, or what was your guiding light with this? What is your wisdom that you have learned throughout life? And I feel that is what is very important for this book, to kind of open your heart a little bit, rather than just opening your head. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I'm a head person, not a heart person.
Yeah, but this is what it's saying. It's trying to get in that heart a little bit.
I understand, but I'm always going to be a head person because of my astrology and my intellect. That is just a part of my identity.
Yeah, but you can still be a head person, but take your heart with you.
Right, but that's an interesting question. So if I were a heart person, do heart people often get advice that you need to explore the head? I'm sure it goes both ways, right?
I mean, I get very much, my father always tells me I need to use my head, but that's never advice. Well, that's right. But yeah, I mean, I feel, within my personal journey, I'm a very open-hearted person. Yeah. But through experience, I now have to take my head with me. So I kind of check in with my gut, I check in with my heart, and then I filter it through my head, So I think it's the Aborigines that say we have three brains, and that's kind of how I work. And I realize that if I get too much in my head, I don't lose my abilities, but I lose my almost like this childlike wonder. When I step away from my heart, it's hard. It's hard for me to live like that. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah. But as you're speaking there, I'm pulling more cards, and the card that we got was the Ace of Cups, which is all about opening the heart. It's the love card, and it's saying that, these changes are what will harmonize, this work as well. It's because they're talking about harmony here, and it is, it is with your words, it is with your written word, but it's writing. It is with your heart. So it's asking you, are you going to take that path? Because that path could lead you to so much joy and so much power. It might be unknown at this moment in time, but it's going to spark something within you that is something that is very important to share.
Okay. Well, that's I mean, I am in the middle of this book, and I did make that decision to get personal.
Yes, you did.
And I made the decision to get more emotional in the writing.
Yeah,
so
well, that's exactly
those are decisions I actually made on my own before this reading.
Well, this is what it is. Thank you for saying that, Mitch, because this is what I find so many times in readings, that when I will do the readings for people, they will say to me, well, I knew that, or I thought that.
Yeah.
So all it does is validate that what you were thinking or feeling was correct. So I feel that tarot can be a huge empowerment tool. Like I will have an idea in my head or in my heart, and then I will just check in with the tarot to go, am I on the right path? Is that okay? Rather than saying to the tarot, right, what do I do? It's like, have I got this right? Am I picking this up, and am I feeling this right as well?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's happening. I feel like, when Dumbo had the white feather, and he felt like he could fly because he had the white feather, and really he could fly anyway, but that was kind of his special tool. Sure. And I feel tarot is very similar to that in a lot of ways. It really can validate things that maybe you might be feeling, but because of conditioning or because of the way you've been taught you were or whatever, you go, oh, well, that's not right. But, you know yourself better than anybody. And I once had a beautiful conversation with somebody who designed the tarot deck. I've designed half of mine, but I haven't finished it yet. Sorry?
Are you going to finish it?
I feel the thing with that is it's an artistic project. It's something that I love to do without it being work. So it's I like to do it in my own time. And what I've done, I started with a major arcana, and I used photographs of friends of mine that embodied the traits of each person. And so, like I say, they're not really out there anywhere, but the people that I've sent them to, they absolutely love them, and it makes fun for me. It's something I really enjoyed. It was during lockdown. I was stuck in a house on a cliff in Greece, and rather than go insane, I thought I'd make tarot cards. So that was my thing. But sorry, there was something that you'd said there. I can't remember what it was that I was going to...
I probably said too many things. So
No, you haven't. This has been wonderful. I could talk to you for hours. I really loved it.
I talked about changing my book approach.
Yes, and about going into the more emotional.
And also a little bit more personal.
Yes, yes.
But without sacrificing the academic aspect of the book, which is
exactly
there. Yeah, but exactly. I haven't found that balance yet, so I don't know. What it is.
Well, this is, you're Libra, this is about the balance as well, isn't it? And I feel the way to bring the balance here as well is if you, like I say, if it feels a bit uncomfortable or you're not sure in how to get into your heart, do it in a more grounded way, like kind of have the academia there, but also have the earthiness. When I said before that my feet are on the ground, but my head is in the clouds, try and bring that balance in, because I feel that is where your truth is, and, just be patient with it. Really be patient with it, because I really feel that, and this is a lot of us, but it is showing the 5 of Wands here. That's one of the cards. But what it's saying is a lot of times I feel that it's, what will other people think, or what have we been told to do, or what have we been taught to do that still actually affects us in this present day. But what they're saying is, it's really this creativity, but also not having this structure with your creativity, allowing it, like, if you think of a fire, you know, like letting that flame just go where it wants to go, and sharing that with other people, or sharing time with people who are like that. It might be a bit uncomfortable at first, but it is going to teach you kind of another way of being.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And it's going to give you so much. I mean, I'm loving when I'm looking at your reading here. I really am, because, you know, as we're looking to the future in this, you have the Ten of Pentacles, which the Ten of Pentacles is one of the best cards you can get within finances, but also security. It's about the legacy you leave for the world. You know, this is what the Ten of Pentacles is. It's beautiful. It's opening that treasure chest and finding that this success or whatever you are searching for is actually always been within you. You just needed this key to unlock it. And then what is coming out is the Fool. So this is saying, be playful, allow this child, like, you know, it's great. And I mean, you're talking about astrology, the deck that we picked there, the Fool is actually juggling all of the astrological signs in this deck. You know, he's like a court jester in it, and he's just on one leg. And this is fine, because it's like you can have this balance. And then we have the Star, and the Star is about being vulnerable. It's about healing. It's about renewal. It's about replenishing. And then we have the Mother come in as well. And this is such a nicer energy than what came in the beginning of the reading. And it's saying to have this solid foundation, you know, to really build on this foundation of being cared for, being nurtured, being allowed to develop as you are, you know, being allowed to be silly and to be playful as well. So there's a lot of contentment coming.
I really love silliness. And
yes,
it used to be a much bigger part of my life. Again, it has been a long time since the lockdown. There's a lot of things. Silliness, yeah. So it's funny you mentioned silliness.
Yeah, silliness. That's what it is. You know, it's like, it's just being silly, just because you can.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you have any questions? Because that's basically your general, Mitch. Are there any questions that you have? Because that would be nice to ask them.
Well, I have so many questions. So, when you do a reading like you did of me here, how do you control the effect of it on you, so that you're, you know, because I'm sure if you do a lot of readings, you're coming in contact with all sorts of things, right?
Yes. It does. I mean, I have to be very careful. I don't do a lot of readings now, you know, compared to what I used to do. I like to make sure that the space that I'm in is clear. You know, that's one of the most important things.
Right.
Although seeing that I have done readings on trains and everything like that. And one of the things I do is to take my shoes off. So as I'm speaking to you here, I'm barefoot, because I always, that is a very grounding. And what I do when I put the cards out, it's beautiful. It's almost like I see it like a spiral, and you start to see the story unfold. So I put the first 4 cards out, and then the rest just comes after it. And all I do really is I am just translating like a movie to you. I'm kind of, you know, imagine that you couldn't see the movie, and I'm going, all right, somebody's stepping to the left here, you know, this person looks like that, and you know, and that's what I'm doing. So it's the movie and the story that comes up in my head that is also shown in the cards. The cards kind of come to life. It's like they're animated. So yeah, that's how I do it.
And so I guess you have to, you said your readings have changed, and so you're more...
Yes. Yeah, it's quite interesting, because it was during the lockdown, but just before it. And funny enough, I was in the States. I was in LA in the February, and then came back to Ibiza. I was living in Ibiza at the time. And the lockdown started straight away. And I was very lucky. I was in a beautiful place. I was in the countryside, the Campo. So, you know, we had a lot of movement, but the restrictions in Spain were very bad. I mean, there was police on the roads, armed police, and like everything. we were allowed out once a week. And at that time, I didn't want to. I knew there were so many people in kind of uncertainty and in worry and in fear. And I didn't in any way want to benefit from that. Obviously, I was affected. You know, it was the first time this had happened in my life. So I stopped doing readings then, and I started to do daily videos just to try and keep people's pecker up, so to speak, you know, in the English say, trying to keep that camaraderie, you know, we can get through this. And I started to do that as well, you know, so I just, anything where I was charging during that time just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, a lot of people were in uncertainty. And then, you know, me, myself, I mean, I ended up leaving Ibiza. And then for the last 2 years, I kind of traveled around the world on a whim. And, you know, I was on a journey of my own, I feel. So I started to write. And this is where, you know, I have a little bit of a book which is it's actually based on the Fool's Journey as well, but on the lessons of the Fool's Journey. And there's little anecdotes about my life in it as well, and you know how it has played out in my life. So yeah, I have that there as well.
When that book comes out, I'm going to get that book.
Yeah, I'll send you one. Mitch.
Well, I want to get it because I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I can send you the draft over at the moment. I can send you, it's a publisher contacted me a couple of months ago, and she has, I've got about 5 chapters in it so far. It hasn't been edited in any way. I've let it flow, and I think once it's all there, I'll send it back.
Picture up here so you can see me.
All right, yeah.
See?
No, I can't see you.
Oh, well, the video's on, so.
All right, I can't see you on it. I can see me.
Oh, weird. Oh, well.
But yeah, it's, you know, I just think about it, and it's so beautiful to talk to you as well, Mitch. And I just think, you know, like within the tarot, I mean, we mentioned when we spoke about Jung and that as well. And it's you know, life is just such a rich tapestry of forces and interactions. And I feel this is what the tarot teaches us. This is what things like this conversation do as well, you know. And I feel that the more we connect, the nicer the world becomes. Maybe I'm just a little bit of an old hippie or something like that, but that's how I believe life is.
I'm very sympathetic to that point of view, and I was called once a hippie by somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because they were talking about the content of my mind, not my presentation of self. So
yes.
So I guess they were seeing into my nature. But I sort of I like that. I really enjoyed this episode, and I think I did the right thing having a reading.
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, thank you for allowing me.
Even good things like this episode have to come to an end. So is there anything?
Yes, I know, sadly, you know, but
about tomorrow, about life or the future?
I mean, I would say that, you know, if anybody is a bit wary about tarot or they want to know a little bit, to me, you have within a tarot deck, you will have every person you've ever met, every experience you ever have, and every situation you will be in. You know, your enemies are in there as well as your allies, the things that you're proud of and the things that you try and hide. And it's a merger of the self, you know, to get the true self, you know, we've got to realize that we do have dark, we do have light, you know, there is life, there is death. And when we try and separate them, or, you know, the kind of material normal life to the spiritual life, we can't. We've got to embody them all. And that's what I feel tarot does. It brings you into acceptance of every part of yourself, even the parts that you might not be that proud of. You know, it asks you to own them. And when we do that, to me, that is when we reach enlightenment. When we are in our true authenticity, we're not trying to hide anything. You know, we're not governed by, our old conditioning, and we can basically say, you know, this is me, I am what I am. And that to me is true spirituality. That's what we need to embody, Mitch. So
that's beautiful.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense, Tanya. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
I'm glad we finally got to do our episode.
Yes, no, that's absolutely great. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it as well. You know, I mean, I don't think I've spoken much about tarot, but, you know, I've really, really enjoyed it.
Did you want to speak more about it, or?
No, I mean, just the one of the things I think, to explain it to people, so within tarot there's 78 cards, and the first 22 are kind of the major arcana, which are the important secrets, and these are what they say are fated kind of road points within our journey. Then we have the minors, and a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to read the minors. You know, the minors aren't important, because obviously the word minor arcana, like minor secrets, it's like, yeah, they're throwaway. But to me, I see the major as kind of the skeleton, and the minor or when you put the meat on the bones. You know, this is if you're cooking, it's the garlic, it's the rosemary, it's these little bits that actually make that meal more sumptuous. And that is why I feel that the minor is actually sometimes more important than the major. So I try to describe it as the major is a year, you know, if you think about it as the months. But their months would be nothing if we didn't have the days, and if we didn't have the hours, and if we didn't have the minutes. So that's where the minor comes in. And then, I mean, we have the cups, which is the fool is on his journey, but within that journey, he learns about his emotions. So his emotional journey is the cups. The wands are his passions and his ideas and his drive and ambition, and he learns about them within the journey of the wands. His swords are his thoughts and his intellect and the way he communicates. He has to learn about them. And then also the pentacles for his, you know, his security, his money, his finances. And he has to learn. So there is a story within a story within a story with it, you know, and that's what I feel is beautiful. Within the tarot. And just one last thing, which I just love this. I hope you like it. I have round about 60 decks. So they're all very different, you know, some beautiful, beautiful artists. And each deck speaks to me in a completely different way. So I have decks that I need to be tough when I listen to them, because they're going to come down hard. There's no compassion. It's just they're going to be like the strict, like, school teacher for you. And then I have other ones that are very loving, like motherly, where they're like, okay, it's all right, you don't have to do this now. So each one, it's like I have all of these different friends and advisors who can help guide me through life. And I feel very, very blessed to have that. But yeah, I love the way each deck speaks to you different.
Excellent. Well, 60 sounds like a lot of decks, and it sounds like you need all of them. So,
yeah, but I mean, they're not very good when I'm traveling around the world. And like I say, I'm ready for my next adventure. So I will have to leave some of them in the UK, I think.
Well, thank you, Tanya.
No, thank you, Mitch. That's been absolutely wonderful.
Hopefully,
so nice to speak to you.
We'll start to do more readings. Thank you.
Sorry about that. What did you say?
And I said, hopefully this episode will inspire people to get readings and explore tarot.
Yes, I mean, you know, it's funny. Just last week, I opened them back up again. You know, I don't know whether, like I say, I haven't been reading for my work, you know, since the pandemic started. But just last week I'm doing that. But I'm teaching a lot now. I really feel that in the way the world is at this moment, there are a lot of people that are wanting to get in touch with themselves and just something higher. And their old world doesn't kind of make sense anymore, their old routines and things. So people are looking for something else. They're looking for something else to believe in. And this is why I've opened my teaching up to just the general public. Like I say, I've always taught teachers in the past, but I feel that tarot will be an essential tool as we go into the future. And I believe everybody should be taught it in schools, you know.
That's excellent. Well, I hope I do that. And so thank you, Tanya.
Okay, thank you so much, Mitch. Thank you. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't like goodbyes, so I'll see you soon, folks. Thank you.